Welcome to the Mile High Church podcast. This is Josh Reeves. I'm so glad you're listening. Hey, Zamira Jezwerska, Jackie Harris, and I are facilitating a meditation and prayer retreat in September. Spend a few days with awesome people, meditating, praying, enjoying life, just being. Sometimes in this wacky world, we just need to find an oasis and a sanctuary to get back to ourselves, and then we can return to that wackiness, not so wacky ourselves, and find some thread of sanity. And we'll have a great time. Learn more at milehighchurch.org. In the Middle Ages, there was a mystical teacher who we still don't know who she was. She was most likely a monk. And she invented a spiritual practice that she called the cloud of unknowing. And if you're up for a little processing, I'm going to invite you into this with me a little bit. Do we like puffy clouds? Everybody here? Yes. Right. So we're going to imagine below us a puffy cloud that we're going to call the cloud of forgetting. And if you want, you can close your eyes with me, and all that you do is any memory that comes up, any thought at all, we just push it down into this cloud of forgetting. That thing she said to you, that moment where you did not lead with as much kindness as you would have liked to have, that sports game that didn't go your way, just keep pushing any memory down into this cloud of forgetting. And what the teacher tells us is eventually we will arise into a cloud of unknowing, into a cloud of unknowing. As we keep forgetting, we find ourselves in this cloud of unknowing. It's a mysterious cloud. It might even be a little scary, a little dark, but don't worry, it's still puffy. And in this cloud of unknowing, the teacher tells us if we are allowing ourselves to be there with courage and faith, that the Spirit will reveal itself, that the divine will announce itself in us, that God will appear. How interesting when we move through all of the surface and trivial thoughts in our consciousness that we can have revealed through us our connection with the divine power. Thomas Merton alluded to the amazing spiritual paradox that the only way to understand ourselves is to understand God. And the only way to understand God is to understand ourselves. Now, this exercise, although mystical, is very practical. What's the message? Forget the trivial and remember what's essential. When we allow ourselves to forget the trivial, what is essential, we are reminded of. It reveals itself to us in a powerful, meaningful way. That God, Spirit, life is right there. Thus, I've entitled the message today, The Spirit of Forgetting. Or if we want to be lighthearted about it, we'll call it the spiritual practice of forget about it. Can you say that with me on 3? 1, 2, 3. Forget about it. Thank you to the great mystical Italian Americans who gave us that saying. I think part of it is because we're growing older in our society, but have you noticed the emphasis on memory? That is such a value and such a virtue. Check out the memory on Brenda. She's as sharp as a tack. She's like a computer. She can remember anything. And part of it, see, is this collective pressure we have on having this thinking mind be in charge of every single aspect of our existence. And if it slows down just for a little bit, that's not good. You have to be able to be in control of your life. I was putting my daughter to sleep a couple months ago, and lying next to her until she falls asleep. That's where I get most of my thinking done. And I realized I need to get into my safe. And the safe has a little code, and I usually walk right up to it, and I put it in, and it opens up. And this moment, I'm asking myself, what's the combination? And I couldn't remember a single number to the combination of that safe. And I responded with a wonderful ministerial consciousness and went immediately into a deep and profound panic. What is wrong with me? Why can't I remember this combination? Oh my God, remembering is what I do for a living, getting up and talking in front of you. If I don't have that, I don't even have a job. And it's amazing when this computer, this controlling memory isn't working for us, how quickly we isolate ourselves. I'm losing it. I'm not good enough. I'm not up to par. Now, memory is great. Control is not. And memory is not a substitute for wisdom. Memory is not a substitute for wisdom. If anything, our conscious mind should remind us that we don't know it all, and that we are not the only intelligence we have, that there's intelligence all around us, that even when I forget, part of me remembers. And I remember walking up to that safe, and I went, boop, 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 boop. It opened. It was just muscle memory. That's all I needed. Wisdom is the recognition that there is intelligence beyond just our conscious mind. It's the ability that when I forget where I put my keys, I can say, nothing is lost in God's universe. You want to say that with me? Nothing is lost in God's universe. When I can't remember your name, I can say, I don't remember what your name is, but I know part of me does. It's in there somewhere. And when I'm faced with a challenge, when I'm in that cloud of unknowingness, I can choose not to turn to doubt or fear, but I can stay strong, courageous, willing to live in the mystery of not knowing. And I can ask the question, what am I called to remember about who I am and my life right now? What are you called to remember about who you are in your life right now? Right now. And perhaps it begins by identifying what needs to be forgotten, to embrace the spirit of forgetting or the spiritual practice of forget about it. I'm not criticizing memory, but I sure do think it's overrated. As long a list I have of things I'd like to remember, I have just as long a list of things I wouldn't mind never having to remember again. That thing she said to me, that time I led with something other than kindness or compassion. Those deep wounds and all those little scrapes, those moments of self-doubt, forget about it. Just let it go. Don't forget to forget to remember. Because when we allow ourselves to forget the trivial, we can remember the essential. When we forget what isn't the truth about who we are, but what we tell ourselves about our experience, and we allow ourselves to remember this moment, this day, the intelligence that is right here and right now available to us. Now I remember. Now I remember. Don't forget to remember. I wrote a book recently called Sacred Time, and it's about learning to live in sacred time and beginning to pull ourselves out of identifying with TikTok time. TikTok time being manufactured time. It's where we identify ourselves with being a schedule and a to-do list and a daily planner. It's where we run on clocks and not on heart. It's where we run ourselves like we are a computer that is bound to break down like a computer will eventually as well. And my greatest teacher about sacred time is my daughter, Nancy June. And we had the experience recently, parents, you know this, is we all know the holidays where our kids are off school, but they always have those teacher planning days, and even if you have it on your calendar, you don't remember till the day before that it's going on. And we had a couple of weeks in a row, so I got to spend a couple Fridays and Saturdays with my daughter, going to the park, hiking, being in nature. And what would happen every time when we were nearing the end of one of these segments is I would start hopping upon TikTok time. We got to get to the next thing. Bedtime's at a certain hour. This is going on tomorrow. We have lunch at this time. Nancy, it's time to go. And each and every time, without fail, she would say, Dad, can't we just stay and play a little longer? Can't we just stay and play a little longer? And I'm wrapped around her finger, so the answer is always yes for a time. But then there's that kind of stressed, panicked me that needs to get somewhere, that's rushing her along. And you know what would happen? We would get on to that next thing with plenty of time to spare. Daddy, can't we just stay and play a little longer? She was living in sacred time. I was on TikTok time. And so that would be my message to you today is yes, you can stay and play a little longer. And although that play won't add a day or a thing to your to-do list, it will help you remember what is most essential and precious and rewarding and regenerating about this thing called life, this sacred memory. Now I remember. Thanks to Barry Ebert, I have this great book called The Parents' Tao Te Ching by William Martin, where he shares this. Do not ask your children to strive for extraordinary lives. Such striving may seem admirable, but it is the way of foolishness. Help them instead to find the wonder and the marvel of an ordinary life. Show them the joy of tasting tomatoes, apples, and pears. Show them how to cry when pets and people die. Show them the infinite pleasure in the touch of a hand, and make the ordinary come alive for them. The extraordinary will take care of itself. Let's play a while. Let's give ourselves permission to forget all of our problems, all of our worries. You want to promise today? They'll wait for you. They'll wait for you to come back. Don't worry about them. But embrace that spirit of forgetting, and you'll be filled up with what you think has been missing from your life. There's nothing missing from your life. There's just what you've been keeping out by remembering the wrong things. Embrace that spirit of forgetting and find yourself not aloof, not lost, not going downhill, but remembering joy, remembering your truth, remembering your vitality and your vibrancy. And if you forget something, so what? So what? You're alive. Justice Stephen Breyer, who was a member of the Supreme Court until a few years ago, he said that there are two unspoken rules of the court. The first, no one speaks twice until everyone has spoken once. Good rule. It's an important reminder about the practicality of the spirit of forgetting, because so often we enter into our discussions, especially our arguments and our courageous conversations, remembering everything it is that we want to say. And what happens? You show up to the environment and it's totally not what you expected, or things begin to fall apart. Why? Because you're not listening. Because we're not creating the environment for meaningful conversation and perhaps change or transformation to happen. Listening, that spirit of forgetting, just being present, creates the container to wherein real and heartfelt communication can begin to happen. Listen, then talk. Second rule of the court, tomorrow is a new day. Probably the best advice any of us have ever received, right? Tomorrow is a new day, but it's terribly difficult to embrace that spirit of forgetting, as Emerson said, to release our old nonsense and step into the new day, knowing it is not the day we have judged, but the day that the Lord hath made for you and for I. That's what Emerson also said. He said that each day is like a God. And if we can embrace that sacred time, if we can let go of, speaking of the court, this prosecutorial type of frame of mind about our lives, right? We go into each day with mountains of case files, more exhibits than Ripley's Believe It or Not, to define what the day is, to define who this person is, to define what's been happening to us, as opposed to realize that this day is a miracle in which anything can happen. Anything can happen if we are willing to forget the trivial so that what is most essential can re-announce, reintegrate, rededicate itself in the center of our being, our inner core, and announce itself into our life. Tomorrow is brand new. You want to be brand new when you step into it as well, by emptying yourself of all that you have gathered to be refreshed and rejuvenated and alive with spirit. Our Centers for Spiritual Living movement lost one of our great giants a few weeks ago. Her name was Dr. Linda McNamara. She was a mentor to me. My parents taught me to be a man. My son Gavin taught me to be a dad. Linda McNamara taught me how to be a minister. She taught me that being a minister wasn't about any sort of spiritual expertise or some sort of divine enlightenment. It's about transparency. It's about having a curiosity about God and life. And it's about loving people. Ministry is about loving people from that equal space where we explore the deepest and most profound ideas of life, sometimes while going through the most difficult and challenging tribulations of our lives. But we do it together. That's what Linda taught me. She also taught me the rule of quoting in ministry. Can I share it with you? It's important wisdom. She shared with me that when you first quote somebody, Josh, you say, so-and-so said. The second time you quote someone, you say, it has been said. And the third time you quote something, you say, as I always say. And then it belongs to you. 20 years ago when I was in ministerial school, Linda is the senior minister of the Laguna Woods Center for Spiritual Living in Laguna Woods, California. And she let me come for 10 weeks and open for her. She would let me give a 5 to 10 minute talk before her message, and it was so meaningful. And she said in front of her congregation, I'm sure I'm not the only ministerial intern she ever said this to. She said, Josh, when I retire, I'm going to go to your church. And it was just the greatest compliment I could have ever gotten from someone I respected so much. And the truth is Linda never retired. A few weeks ago, she gave her sermon on Sunday morning, and she passed away that night. But a true gift to so many of us in ministry. And she said the following in her wonderful book, Alive with Spirit. Some people say we should live life as if it is our last day on earth. Maybe we should live life as if it is our first day on earth. Conscious, awake, aware of the beauty and bounty around us, being childlike in our wonder. The Sufis teach us, Sufism being the mystical branch of Islam, that prayer isn't so much about asking for anything, that prayer is the process of remembering. That prayer is about recollection. That when we go into prayer, we're not trying to create anything. We're simply going into that cloud of forgetting, letting go all of the stuff we've been telling ourselves, all the surfacey stuff, to allow the jewels that are sometimes buried deep within us to be revealed again, to be wiped clean so that they can shine in our awareness in our lives. And we realize in that recollection, that's all we needed. I don't need anything in my life to change right now. I just needed to remember who I am and what life is about. And that realization gives us all the tools we need. Whenever we're struggling, whenever we're having a hard time, whenever life sucks, it's just a call to forget. It's just a call to embrace that spirit of forgetting, to allow that spirit of sacred remembering to announce itself in us again. It's a time to realize that all we're called to remember in this moment is the living Spirit, the Holy One. God is. And that's all we need to know. Abu Hashim Madani, a Sufi teacher, said, there's only one thing to be gained in life, and that is to remember God with each breath. And there is only one loss in life, and that is the breath drawn without the remembrance of God. I invite you to joyfully identify all those things that you'd like to forget and to forget about it. You may have to forgive about it first. You don't need that anymore. You don't need it anymore. And you don't even have to make up what you're going to remember. You only have to allow that spirit that has been allowed to become dormant because of these false memories to wake up, to come back to life in you. That spirit of forgetting helps you to remember what is most essential and will give you right now what you need to live a great life. As we move into a closing prayer, I invite any of our prayer partners to stand with us. These practitioners will be available after service for prayer. And in honor of Dr. Reverend Linda, just some prayerful words for her to remember in our Sacred Hearts today. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone around the globe had a comfortable place to sleep and food to eat? Wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone had medical attention when needed, a safe place to raise their children and shelter from the storms of life? Such a world is possible, and it begins right here with you and me. It begins with what we think, what we believe, what we say and do, because we are one in consciousness with spiritual reality. You and I have an effect on the way the world is today on what it can become. If we want our world to change either globally or locally, we need to turn to the non-material realm of consciousness. As we establish peace within our hearts and minds, we will act peacefully in our personal lives. As more and more personal lives are lived with serenity, it will spread around the globe. We can empty our minds of the divisive beliefs which created the world's challenges in the first place and replace them with the knowledge that we are all one life and one consciousness. It is from this unity that we make personal choices which create a world which experiences a global heart of peace. So in this prayer, I forget what I am allowing to bother me, and I remember who I really am. I forget that which is no longer serving me, and I am remembering that which does. I am forgetting blame, rage, judgment, victimhood, and I am remembering joy, wisdom, the good kind of mourning and grief, the embracing of change, and the truth of who I am. Embodying the spirit of forgetting, something in us remembers. It awakes and enlivens every area of our life with an aura of truth and of the sacred. May our lives sing of the sacred this day, and may we find its tune settled right here at the base of our hearts, giving us the rhythm and the life we need to live and to thrive. And so it is. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.